My brother stood in front of everyone at his rehearsal dinner and called me a disgrace. Then his fiancée walked over, extended her hand, and said, "Your Honor, it's wonderful to see you again." The room went silent. My family's faces drained of color. That moment changed everything. Let me take you back to where this all started. Growing up, I was always the odd one out in my family. My brother Marcus was the golden child. He got the praise, the attention, the support. I was just there. My parents made it clear early on that Marcus was destined for greatness. He was charming, social, and knew exactly how to work a room. I was quieter, more focused on my books and studies. That made me boring to them, forgettable. When I was 12, I remember my dad watching Marcus play football in the backyard with his friends. Dad cheered every throw, every catch. I was sitting on the porch doing homework, trying to get his attention with a math problem I had solved in a creative way. He barely glanced at my notebook. He told me to go inside because I was distracting Marcus. That was the first time I really understood where I stood. I was not the priority. I never would be. Marcus knew this dynamic well. He used it to his advantage. When we were teenagers, he would borrow my things without asking. If I complained, my parents told me to stop being selfish. When he crashed my bike, they bought him a new one and told me mine was old anyway. When he needed money, they gave it to him. When I asked for help with college application fees, they said I should get a job. So I did. I worked nights at a grocery store, stocking shelves and cleaning floors. Marcus spent his evenings at parties. The pattern continued into adulthood. I put myself through college with scholarships, loans, and endless part-time jobs. I studied law because I believed in justice, in fairness, in a world where people were held accountable. My family thought it was a waste. My mom once said, "Why do you want to be a lawyer? You are not good with people." My dad laughed and agreed. Marcus said, I would probably end up writing wills for old people in a dusty office. They made fun of my ambition at every family dinner. I stopped sharing my achievements with them. When I graduated with honors, I did not invite them. When I passed the bar exam on my first try, I celebrated alone. When I started working as a prosecutor and won my first major case, I did not call home. It was not worth the dismissal or the subtle insults. I built my career quietly, far from their voices. Meanwhile, Marcus bounced from job to job. He had charm but no discipline. He worked in sales for a while, then tried a real estate, then some startup that failed. My parents always made excuses for him. They said he was finding himself, that he was too creative for a boring 9-to-5 job. When he ran out of money, they helped him. When he got into debt, they bailed him out. And when he needed a place to stay, they let him move back home at 32 years old. I had moved to a different city by then. I kept my distance, but still sent money home when my parents needed it. They never asked how I had it. They just took it. I paid for my mom's surgery when she needed a procedure that insurance did not fully cover. I paid off part of their mortgage when they were struggling. I did it anonymously through bank transfers, and they assumed it was some kind of loan forgiveness program or a mistake in their favor. They never questioned it. I wanted to help them, even though they had never helped me. I guess some part of me still wanted their love. Years passed. I worked my way up. I became a judge, appointed to the bench after years of service as a prosecutor and then a senior attorney in the district. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. I was the youngest judge appointed in my state in over a decade. The mayor spoke at my swearing-in ceremony. My colleagues respected me. I had earned my place. But I did not tell my family. What was the point? They would find some way to minimize it. Or worse, they would suddenly be interested in me only because of my status. I did not want that. I wanted them to value me for who I was, not for what I could do for them. So I stayed silent. I let them think I was just some average lawyer doing paperwork somewhere. They never asked for details. They did not care enough to. Then, 6 months ago, I got a call from Marcus. It was the first time he had reached out to me in over a year. He told me he was getting married. Her name was Angela. He said she was amazing, beautiful, smart, and way out of his league. He laughed when he said it, but I could tell he meant it. He sounded happy, genuinely happy. For a moment, I felt something soften inside me. Maybe this was a turning point for him. Maybe this would be good. He invited me to the wedding. He said it would mean a lot if I came. I was surprised. We were not close. We barely spoke. But he was still my brother. I told him I would think about it. He said the rehearsal dinner was in 2 months and that I should come to that too. He wanted me to meet Angela before the big day. I spent weeks debating it. Part of me wanted to go to see if maybe things could be different. Maybe Marcus had changed. Maybe my parents would finally see me as an equal. But another part of me knew better. I had been down this road before. Every time I hoped for something different, I ended up disappointed. Still, I decided to go. I told myself it was for closure. I would see them one last time, and then I could move on with my life, free from the weight of wanting their approval. I did not tell them about my career. I wore a simple dress, nothing flashy. I drove to the venue, a nice restaurant my parents had rented out for the rehearsal. When I walked in, I saw my family gathered around Marcus and Angela. My parents were laughing, my aunts and uncles were chatting, and everyone looked happy. I stood at the entrance for a moment, unnoticed. Then my mom saw me. She waved but did not come over. I walked to the group. Marcus saw me and smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile you give to someone you feel obligated to acknowledge. He said, "You actually came. I thought you would bail." I forced a smile and said it was good to see him. My dad shook my hand like I was a distant acquaintance. My mom hugged me quickly, then turned back to Angela. No one really cared that I was there. Angela was beautiful. She had dark hair, kind eyes, and a calm presence. She shook my hand and said, "It was nice to finally meet me." She seemed genuine. I liked her immediately. I wondered how Marcus had managed to find someone like her. The evening went on. People ate, drank, and told stories. I sat quietly at a table in the corner. A few relatives asked me basic questions. "What do you do? Where do you live?" I gave vague answers. They did not press. I was used to being invisible in this family. Then, Marcus stood up to give a speech. He thanked everyone for coming. He talked about how much Angela meant to him, how she had changed his life. He looked at my parents and thanked them for always supporting him, for believing in him even when things were tough. He got emotional. People clapped. My mom wiped tears from her eyes. Then he looked at me. His expression changed. He said, "I want to thank my sister for coming tonight. I know we have not always been close. I know she has made choices that took her away from this family, but I appreciate her being here." It sounded nice on the surface, but I felt the edge in his words. The implication that I was the one who had distanced myself, that I was the one who had chosen to be separate. After the speech, I went outside for air. I stood on the patio, looking at the city lights in the distance. I heard footsteps behind me. It was Marcus. He stood next to me, holding a drink. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then he spoke. He said, "You know, you have always been a disappointment to this family." I turned to look at him. He was not angry. He was calm, matter of fact. He continued, "You act like you are better than us. You moved away, you never come around, you never help, you just do your own thing. It is selfish. You are a disgrace to this family." The word hit me like a punch. Disgrace. I stared at him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him everything about the money I had sent, about the sacrifices I had made. about the career I had built while he lived off our parents. But I did not. I just stood there, silent. He finished his drink and walked back inside. I felt numb. I thought about leaving, just walking to my car and never looking back. But something kept me there. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was the hope that someone, anyone, would see the truth. I walked back inside. The room was loud with conversation and laughter. I stood near the bar trying to collect myself. Then Angela walked over. She smiled at me. She said, "I am so glad you are here. Marcus talks about you sometimes. I know you two are not super close, but family's important." I nodded, not sure what to say. Then she looked at me more closely. Her eyes widened slightly. She said, "Wait, I know you. You are Judge Calloway, right?" My heart stopped. I stared at her. She continued, "I thought you looked familiar. I work as a court liaison for the public defender's office. I have seen you in court. You presided over a case I was coordinating last year, the Anderson case. You were amazing." I did not know what to say. I nodded slowly. She looked confused. She said, "Does Marcus know you are a judge?" I shook my head. She looked even more confused. She said, "Why would you not tell him? That is incredible." Before I could answer, Marcus walked over. He put his arm around Angela and asked what we were talking about. Angela looked at me, then at Marcus. She said, "Why did you not tell me your sister is a judge?" The words hung in the air. Marcus froze. His smile faded. He said, "What are you talking about?" Angela looked at me, then back at him. She said, "Your sister. She is a judge, Judge Calloway. I have seen her in court. She is well respected." Marcus stared at me. His face went through several emotions. Confusion, disbelief, anger. He said, "That is not possible. She is just a lawyer. She does paperwork or something." Angela shook her head. She said, "No, Marcus. She is a sitting judge. I am sure of it." By now, a few people nearby had stopped talking and were listening. My parents walked over, sensing something was wrong. My dad asked what was going on. Angela, still confused by the whole situation, said, "I was just telling Marcus that his sister is a judge. I have worked with her office before." My mom looked at me. She said, "What is she talking about?" I took a deep breath. I said, "It is true. I am a judge. I have been for 3 years." The room went quiet. My dad laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. He said, "That is ridiculous. Why would you not tell us?" Marcus said, "You are lying. You are making this up." Angela looked uncomfortable. She said, "I am not lying. I have seen her. She is Judge Calloway." My mom looked at me, searching my face for answers. I said, "I did not tell you because you never cared about my career. You never asked. You never supported me. So I stopped sharing." Marcus shook his head. He said, "This is insane. If you were really a judge, you would have told us. You are just trying to make yourself look important." Angela pulled out her phone. She searched my name and showed Marcus a page from the courthouse website. There was my picture, my title, my credentials. His face went pale. He stared at the screen, then at me. My parents looked over his shoulder. My mom put her hand over her mouth. My dad just stood there, speechless. The room was silent except for the low murmur of confused relatives. My dad finally spoke. He said, "Why did you hide this from us?" I felt a surge of anger. I said, "I did not hide it. You just never cared enough to ask. You were too busy praising Marcus for every little thing he did while ignoring everything I accomplished." My mom said, "That is not fair. We always loved you." I laughed bitterly. I said, "You loved me? You told me I was not good with people. You made fun of my career choice. You took money from me without even knowing where it came from." "I paid for your surgery, Mom. I paid part of your mortgage, Dad. I did all of that, and You did not even notice. My dad looked confused. He said, "What are you talking about?" "We got help from a relief program." I shook my head. I said, "No, that was me. I sent the money. I did not want you to lose the house. I did not want Mom to suffer. I helped you, and you did not even care to find out who did it." My mom started crying. She said, "We did not know." I said, "Exactly. You did not know because you never asked. You never wanted to know. You only saw what you wanted to see." Marcus stepped forward. He said, "So what? You think you are better than us now? You think because you have some fancy title you can look down on us?" I said, "I never looked down on you, Marcus. You looked down on me. You called me a disgrace an hour ago. You said I was a disappointment. You have spent your whole life belittling me, and I stayed quiet because I wanted to keep the peace. But I am done." Angela stepped between us. She said, "Marcus, maybe you should listen to her." He glared at her. He said, "Stay out of this." She looked hurt but did not back down. She said, "No, I will not. If what she's saying is true, then you owe her an apology." Marcus turned on her. He said, "You are taking her side? You just met her." Angela said, "I am not taking sides. I am asking you to be fair. She is your sister." My dad tried to calm things down. He said, "Let us all just take a breath." But I was not done. I said, "You want to know why I did not tell you? Because I knew you would do exactly what you are doing now. You would make it about yourselves. You would find some way to twist it so that I am the bad guy. You have done it my whole life." I looked at each of them, my parents, my brother, the relatives who were watching. I said, "I spent years trying to earn your love. I worked hard. I sacrificed. I gave everything I had. And it was never enough because you did not want to see me. You wanted me to stay small so that Marcus could shine? Well, I am not small. I never was. I just let you believe it because I thought that was what family did." My mom reached for my hand. She said, "Please, we can fix this." I pulled my hand away. I said, "There is nothing to fix, Mom. This is who you are. This is who we are. And I am okay with that now. I do not need your approval anymore. I do not need your love. I have built a life without it, and I am proud of who I have become." Marcus looked at me with something like hatred. He said, "Then why did you even come here?" I said, "I came because I wanted to see if things could be different. I wanted to believe that maybe you had changed, that maybe we could be a real family. But I see now that was a mistake. You have not changed. None of you have." I looked at Angela. I said, "I am sorry you had to see this. You seem like a wonderful person. I hope Marcus treats you better than he treated me." She looked sad but nodded. I turned and walked toward the door. My dad called after me. He said, "If you leave now, that is it. You are choosing to walk away from this family." I stopped and turned around. I said, "No, Dad. You walked away from me a long time ago. I am just finally accepting it." I left. I walked to my car, got in, and sat there for a moment. My hands were shaking. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and relief. I started the car and drove away. I did not look back. The next few days were a blur. I threw myself into work. I had cases to review, hearings to prepare for. It was easier to focus on that than to think about what had happened. But at night, alone in my apartment, the emotions would hit me. I cried. I felt the weight of years of rejection and neglect. But I also felt something else, freedom. A week later, Angela called me. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. She said, "I am so sorry about what happened. I did not mean to cause a scene. I told her it was not her fault." She said, "I have been thinking a lot about what you said. I talked to Marcus. He is really hurt and confused. I did not say anything. She continued. I know it is not my place, but I think there is a lot of pain in your family that has never been addressed. I said, There is. But I am not responsible for fixing it. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I respect that. I just want you to know that I think you are incredibly brave. What you have accomplished is amazing. I am sorry your family did not see that. I thanked her. She said, If you ever want to talk, I am here. I know I am marrying into this family, but that does not mean I agree with how they treated you. We talked for a while. She told me more about herself, her work, her own family. She was kind and thoughtful. I realized that she was probably the best thing that had happened to Marcus. I hoped he would not ruin it. Over the next few weeks, my parents tried to reach out. My mom called several times. She left voicemails saying she wanted to talk, that she was sorry, that she did not understand how things had gotten so bad. My dad sent a few texts. They were awkward and formal. He said he was proud of me and that he wished I had told them sooner. I did not respond. I needed space. I needed time to process everything. Marcus did not reach out. I did not expect him to. He was too proud, too angry. Angela told me later that he was embarrassed. The story had spread among the family. Everyone knew now that I was a judge, that I had been helping my parents financially, that I had been dismissed and belittled for years. Some relatives reached out to me with apologies. Others stayed silent. I appreciated the apologies, but they did not change anything. The damage was done. The wedding came and went. I did not attend. Angela sent me a message the day before, saying she understood and that she hoped I was doing well. I wished her happiness. I meant it. A few months later, I heard through a relative that Marcus and Angela had moved to a different state for a job opportunity. I was glad. Maybe distance would be good for all of us. As time passed, I found peace. I focused on my work, my friends, and the life I had built. I started going to therapy to work through the years of pain and rejection. It helped. I learned to set boundaries, to recognize my worth, to stop seeking validation from people who were never going to give it. I learned that family is not just about blood, it is about respect, love, and support. And if those things are not there, it is okay to walk away. I also reconnected with people who had always believed in me. Old friends from law school, colleagues, mentors. I built a support system that valued me for who I was. I started dating again, something I had put on hold for years. I met someone who respected my career, who listened to me, who saw me. It was different. It was healthy. One evening, about a year after the rehearsal dinner, I was at a community event. I was there as a guest speaker, talking to young people about careers in law. After my talk, a woman approached me. She said, "You probably do not remember me, but I was in your courtroom a few years ago. You were fair, firm, and compassionate. You changed my life." She told me her story. She had been in a difficult situation, and my ruling had given her a second chance. She had turned her life around. She was now a social worker, helping others. I was moved. I thanked her. She said, "No, thank you. You showed me that the system can work, that there are people who care about justice. You gave me hope." That moment reminded me why I had chosen this path. It was not for recognition or praise. It was because I believed in fairness, in giving people a voice, in holding people accountable. That was my purpose. That was my identity. I thought about my family. I wondered if they understood now. I wondered if Marcus had changed, if my parents had reflected on their actions. I did not know. And honestly, I did not need to know. Their journey was theirs. Mine was mine. I had spent so many years trying to be enough for them, trying to earn their love, their respect, their acknowledgement. But I had learned that I was already enough. I had always been enough. I did not need their validation to know my worth. I had built a career, a life, and a sense of self that was strong and independent. I had walked through fire and come out stronger. The title, Your Honor, was not just a professional designation. It was a symbol of everything I had overcome. It was a reminder that respect is earned, not given. It was proof that I had taken every rejection, every insult, every moment of being overlooked, and turned it into fuel. I'd risen above the noise and the negativity. I had become someone who mattered, not because of my family, but in spite of them. Looking back, I do not regret going to that rehearsal dinner. It was painful, but it was necessary. It forced everything into the open. It made me confront the reality of my relationship with my family. It gave me the clarity I needed to finally let go. And in a strange way, Angela's recognition of me was the catalyst for my freedom. Her words, Your Honor, were not just a greeting. They were a declaration, a public acknowledgement of who I was. And in that moment, I stopped being invisible. I have learned that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. And that is not your fault. You cannot control how others see you or treat you. You can only control how you respond. You can choose to stay in toxic situations, hoping things will change, or you can choose to walk away and build a life that honors who you are. I chose to walk away, and it was the best decision I ever made. I am happier now than I have ever been. I wake up every day knowing that I am living my truth. I am surrounded by people who value me. I am doing work that matters. I am at peace. My brother called me a disgrace, but I am not a disgrace. I am a judge, a professional, a person of integrity. I am someone who fought for her place in the world and won. And no one can take that away from me. Not my family, not my past, not anyone. If you have ever felt like the disgrace in your own story, I hope this helps you find your honor moment. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be valued. And if the people around you cannot see that, then it is time to find people who will. Do not wait for permission to be proud of who you are. Do not let anyone dim your light. Stand tall, own your story, and know that you are enough. You always have been. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe for more stories of triumph over betrayal, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to hear how you stood up for yourself.